You switch to chipmunk mode. Here we go. As Brett plugs his microphone back in. Now there's nothing. Oh, you're on mute. You got your mute things.
All right, how's that?
Perfect.
All right.
At least we know the fix now.
Yeah, the wire. So hey, what's going on, Scott?
Hey, just keeping busy here. It's another day. We got the beginnings of fall coming through, or the oppressive 100-degree real feel temps have dropped down, so that's good.
Well, as the weather people keep saying, this is faux fall. We still have summer coming back around. Yeah, I mean, we got like 3 weeks until actual fall. Actually, almost 4 weeks, but they say it's faux fall, so we're getting teased with this cooler weather, which happens in August sometimes, and we're already looking at a week from Monday. Already is going to be back up in the 80s. So we'll have some of that coming around again. But
we'll get a few days of fall, and then we'll get heat. Then we'll get 2 more days of fall, then Arctic weather.
The beauty of it's been, though, I'm enjoying the cooler weather and the lack of Canadian smoke.
Yes, that has been nice. My runs have gone much better lately.
Yeah, we had the smoke out in Colorado. It wasn't Canadian because they got their own wildfires, but it was definitely out there heavy the first couple days we were there. So
I think Florida's got some going on.
It's everywhere.
California, I meant to say.
Yeah, West Coast area, the western states are all being hit. It's been a very dry year. And, of course, with certain policies a lot of these states put in, they wanted everything just to be natural, thinking that's the best way. They stopped clearing out areas like they used to, and that's what's caused the big spread of a lot of these fires. And that's what you look at is clearing out the junk, does help reduce that, because when it was natural and nobody lived there, it could burn all day long and nobody would care, because nobody's there. But now people live, and you got to think about that too. So yeah, I've used that map a couple times. That's a great map you gave us.
Yeah, it works awesome. But you can see there's fires down in California there, and then it goes up to the Colorado area where you were.
Yep.
So you can see it's going there, and then up in the northwest there's a bunch going on right here. So
yeah,
it's an interesting map to refer to. But yeah, prior that section up there was coming all the way down that northern Canada, but now it's much smaller. It was in the hundreds of fires. Now you just see 3, 7, 5, 7, 11. So it was hundreds of fires.
Yeah,
just a week or so ago. So
and
I wonder if they're getting a lot of rain or something.
I'm thinking they must be, and I'm looking at the way that that smoke's blowing there. The wind changes has happened, so that's part of it too. It's heading more east towards north, and then dissipating once it hits the open ocean a little more. So a little bit heads over there, hits Greenland some, but not as bad as it was hitting down here. So
it's a fun map. For those who want to look at it, it's called firesmoke.ca. It's a Canadian smoke forecasting website.
And it's pretty close to accurate, because I checked it out for when we were in Colorado, and I said, oh yeah, about 2 days to start clearing up, and it did. So cool, that works.
Sweet stuff, man.
But yeah, we had a nice little time out in Colorado. Did the show out there, and got some people excited about some books, and then we had a couple days of kind of vacation to enjoy the area, because if you're going to travel like that, you got to have a chance to enjoy it. So one of the fun things we did, I'm wearing the shirt for it, is the Royal Gorge Route. It was a train ride through a canyon in Colorado along the Arkansas River.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't upload any photos, but I took a ton of photos, a lot of cool rock formations, and I saw a bunch of rafters going down the rapids and everything else. So it was a neat trip. It was neat to check out that area.
Colorado is a really interesting state. It's a very beautiful, it's a great place to go visit and check out if you've never been there.
Yep, it's just being for like these lowland areas here. You get to that higher elevation, you feel it. So
you do feel it. Well, when I would do my runs, when we would do Colorado or Denver, a 2-mile run there felt like 6 miles here. That's how winded I would get for comparison. So, which is why all those athletes for Olympics and stuff. They'll go there to do their training.
Oh yeah, the Olympic headquarters
during.
there is in Colorado Springs, and
Right.
so they're because the higher elevation, the running and everything else they do, it helps build up that abilities when they get to the lower areas. They actually can do better because they can handle the
they're like
oxygen.
superheroes when they come to this level because they're like, oh my, their body's like all this oxygen. Whoa.
Right.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Well, I'll pop out this ad read and get this out of the way.
Okay.
Team Titans, you know who we are. We're here for you and all your real estate needs. A little bit later today, we're going to talk a little bit about ownership versus rental. And so I'll talk more when we get to that topic. But just know our phone number is there, 586-232-5144. If you're a buyer, it really is a great time. There's a lot going on right now politically with the Fed and between the Fed and the president and stuff. And it's looking like the Fed has announced it sounds like they're going to be dropping rates. So if interest rates do drop, we are expecting a surge of buyers to hit the market. So if you're somebody who's been frustrated by all those bidding wars, right now is the time to jump in before those interest rate drops. Now you might be saying, well, I want to wait for the low interest rate. If you lock in now, before all those bidding wars start, you can always refinance 6 months, a year later and get that lower rate without having to pay that extra 40 grand in purchase price during a bidding war next summer. Mm-hmm. So if you've been frustrated by that and you don't have that excess cash that's needed to do those appraisal guarantees, right now is a really good time. So give us a call, 586-232-5144, and we'll get you into a home. All right.
Excellent. Well, I guess we should probably make our announcement because people usually turn us off by now anyway. So just so everybody knows, Odd Musings is we're kind of taking a change. Was scheduling in our live, stuff like that. We're not 100% going away, but we're not going to be doing a weekly show anymore after this week. We'll pop on periodically. We may do individual stuff. Like Scott may say, I need to get the word out about some real estate things going on, stuff like that. We'll get together when we can. It's just more of, it's not that it's gotten too difficult to get together, but to have to constantly every week try to plan this right now has been difficult with our job situations and things like that going on. So going forward, things will be changing. You may see me do a different show down the road too, but that doesn't mean we're 100% not going to do something together because we still have Bardstone. You'll be hearing from us when we ever do any Bardstone stuff. When we say, oh, this was a really cool thing, we should go online and talk about it. We'll figure out a time and go on. And those will always still be available on our YouTube channel. That's the best place to follow us is YouTube because Facebook is deleting live videos after, I think, a week now or so. So they're not.
Oh, is it a week now?
Yeah, something like that. They were announcing that before. So check us out on YouTube. Just Google Odd Musings. You can find us there and go from there. But going forward, we're not going to be doing the weekly 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then for all our pals that like to hop on the show to promote their stuff, still get a hold of us. We'll schedule. It doesn't have to be in the mornings now. We'll try to do some evening stuff with you other days, not just Wednesday. We're always happy to talk about anything going on and things like that. So that's kind of the big announcement this week. So after 8 years of going weekly,
that's a lot. Now we will say, I will throw this out. Joe Rogan, if you want to elevate our podcast and give us a platform there, we'll gladly do this every day.
Well, and that's the other thing is we love doing it, but we're not making any money at it. So
but if Joe Rogan wants to back us a little bit and give us a nudge and make this so we get the levels needed.
Heck, we can even do be part of the New Heights, with Taylor Kelsey marriage coming up. He may be a little busy trying to crank out some kids and marriage and all that stuff. So we could do Odd Musings.
It'll be the backup
banner. Yeah. So, things like that. But so those that watch kind of regular with us, we appreciate you for all these years. Definitely keep in touch with us, follow us online, and we'll pop on when we can and talk about what we can when we want to. So but other than that, we got a full show today, so let's have a little fun.
Yeah, let's have fun.
Yeah.
So you were telling me you were getting caught up on some entertainment.
Actually, I've been watching, of course, Star Trek. I've been really into Strange New Worlds. Just a fun series. They did announce, the fifth season is going to be the final season, and
Yep.
how many episodes are in each one. So we've got like around 18 or 19 more to go until the series ends over the next couple years, and we got like I think 4 more this season in that. So a lot of fun. It still is the best Star Trek in years, actual Star Trek, outside of the Orville. The Orville,
Right.
was still every other week. It's like, it's coming back. It's coming back. Until I see a
Yeah.
real production photo, I'm not going to believe that. It's just like any
Yeah.
Star Wars rumors.
Yeah. The prior to Strange New Worlds, will be interesting to see where it ranks. But the best 2 Star Trek ever made was Orville and Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
Both not Star Trek. So
well, and the thing is, they took the original premise of what Star Trek was as a show in the 60s and kind of recreated it in its own way. I mean, there's still talk of them doing a Galaxy Quest series, which would not have anybody from the movies because they've all moved on. And it's been 26 years since Galaxy Quest came out. And so they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. It's just like Firefly. It's like people, I'd love to see a new Firefly. It's been, we're going like, what, 21 years since the movie came out, Serenity. If they were to do something new with Firefly, it'd have to be a completely new reboot. They could do a Cobra Kai-ish, and 20-something years later, you could start off with like Mal maybe handing off the ship to somebody or a group or whatever, but I don't know how good that would be. So you don't want to screw that up either.
I mean, the Firefly universe was an interesting universe, but at the end of the day, it really was the characters and how they meshed together. Firefly ultimately was about family. It was a dysfunctional family of all these misfits who were kind of together. So I don't know if the universe itself that they created is strong enough to carry forward without those characters.
I don't think it is. And that's why I say I think a reboot would not even work as well, because the problem with, see stuff nowadays, it's like every time they want to do a reboot, or it always becomes a reimagining. And one of the things you get with something original, whether it was even, I mean, it's even tough with the original Star Trek. They did, after the original Star Trek ended, they had an animated series for a minute with a lot of the actors voicing the characters. Then they do Star Trek, the motion picture. It did well because people were huge Star Trek fans because of syndication back in the 70s. But at the same time, it was kind of lacking. And then they did Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and they went back to its roots because they were trying to reimagine it with the same cast. Then you get like Next Generation. And even with Next Generation, that first season, in a lot of ways, was completely different than the second season in a lot of dynamics, especially in how the characters were. They were trying to be too much like the original series in some ways, with differences, but you can see kind of they're a little stiffer. Well, he's different. He's not Kirk, but and this guy is kind of the Kirk. Eventually, once they got the characters settled in after the first season, it became its own thing and it worked out better. But
thankfully they gave it enough time for the actors, the writers, everyone to find their voices and figure out what that show was. It took a couple seasons for it to really become a good hit,
Yes. And that, but to take it and reimagine, I mean, a lot of times you end up they go with these, they try to hip it up. They try to say, oh, we've got to kind of include something that's going on nowadays, whatever we feel is hip and cool, and we've got to attract the younger crowd. And the thing is, if people really paid attention at Comic-Cons, as many Comic-Cons Scott and I've done over the years, you can pick up on certain things, and there's always the fads. The fads come and go fast. Like right now, it's this K-pop Demons. They're the #1 movie this past weekend. They got music. They got stuff on Netflix. It's a flash in the pan in the long run. It's going to disappear when people get tired of the music and go somewhere else. And then down the road, these little girls now that are, tweens to teens that are loving it, when they're in their 30s, oh, I remember that. And I loved it. And they'll revisit it for a minute, but that's about it. But stuff that kind of continues on and has never really died out is stuff that you see at the Comic-Cons. And it has to do with the parents that still were true fans of something that was actually able to keep it going. It wasn't a flash in the pan, boom, 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 like a lot of things are. And we see that happen. I mean, Ghostbusters, Star Wars, we see those tons of shows because the fans have never let go. They weren't just quick
Well, I think,
flash in the pans.
yeah, and I also think it matters what is the essence of it.
Yeah.
Some things are flash in the pans because it's based upon a current trend. So
Yeah.
something comes out and that age group latches onto it because of the trend. But then 30 years later, that fan base wants to reconnect because of they want that nostalgic feeling. And then they watch it and it no longer holds up.
Yeah.
But then you have something like Star Wars where it does still hold up. And the reason is because it's not based on a current trend, it's based on a timeless truth. It's based on concepts of good and evil, family, father and son. These are things that are timeless and they go back. I mean, 200 years ago, people still had those same values. So when something is based on a timeless concept, it will survive through the different eras. But if it's just based on a trendy little thing, it's not going to hold up. But then what happens is they will revisit something that might be based on a timeless concept and reimagine it. And they throw the trendy thing in there and it doesn't work because the trends come and go. They're not timeless.
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing. You see, like with the Cobra Kai series, part of what made that work, and I felt like it did lag quite a bit in the middle because it was a series versus movies, was it went back to the heart of what the first movie was, and it was the relationship, between Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi.
Miyagi. Yep.
And dealing with the struggles of who was. It really brought out who truly was, and you saw that at the beginning of Karate Kid 2, who the true bad guy was. It wasn't Johnny Lawrence. He was always more of a pawn. It was always John Kreese. John Kreese was the ultimate bad guy in those, and even in the series, they kind of redeemed him some, but he still was the bad guy through most of it. And he got redeemed because they had the ultimate bad guy who was behind him, all that come out. So, I mean, they tried layers, but what made something like that work was they went back to those classic things. And it really was about family, friendship, people caring about each other and stuff like that. So,
well, and then when it comes to anything martial arts, it's the timeless truth of a school comes in and another school has to fight them to take over the sensei of the other.
Yep.
It's like every martial arts movie ever is that premise.
Well,
There's a new JoJo in town. Whoa! Yeah!
Oh yeah, that's all the basic stuff. Or you go back to the classic, like movies, like Drunken Master. Oh, your style's not as good as my style, and I bring you the twisted.
We must fight till the death.
I bring you the twisted grasshopper. And he goes, "Oh, I'm drinking twisted grasshopper, but it's called Drunken Master."
Yep.
So it's stuff like that, and I think it's just funny and watching all this stuff, and that's where, like, we were talking about Firefly getting up, but that's where, like we mentioned, like even Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, Galaxy Quest, and the Orville. The reason that they are been such great Star Trek is they went back to the essence of what the original was, which was, one, good storytelling. Two was you cared about the characters. And we've talked about this a million times, but we won't get too deep into it again. But Discovery failed because you really just did not care about the characters. You had characters you liked, but all the characters you really would want to follow and be were always blocked by the Michael Burnham character, and they wanted it to be one central character. And Stranger Worlds has shown, really, even this year, it's not the character, it's the crew, and it's how everybody interacts and the storytelling behind it. Sometimes you focus on one versus another, not one central focus. It was never always just Kirk. They dealt with a lot of other stuff within that, and they didn't get as deep as some of the other characters because that was a different time. But now they're like, hey, we're learning more about Uhura, we're learning more about Nurse Chapel, and these were characters that were timeless from back then.
And the other part is they're flawed characters. They have weaknesses, they have strengths, and it's the unity of the crew that they are stronger together. And that's always been the case all throughout. Whereas Discovery, I felt like they were trying to elevate the Michael Burnham character above the crew and make it about her instead of how they all work together. And I think that's why the episodes work so well when Michael Burnham wasn't in them, because when she wasn't in it, it was about the crew and how they work together, which was Star Trek. At the end of the day, Star Trek is really, if you think about it, it's more of a submarine movie Like the way the whole premises are all on the bridge, they're going through, and the crew has to work with each other to survive this hostile environment. So that's kind of how Star Trek works. But yeah, if you make it all about one person, you've now taken it away from what the strength of Star Trek is.
Well, Roddenberry always said it was Roddenberry always said it was supposed to be like Wagon Train into space. And if you watch the original Wagon Train series, you had your wagon master, but it was all the other people that brought the story to that episode or whatever. And that's what he wanted. It was about the episodes, but you had a solid one set crew, and you interacted with other people periodically on each episode, but you always had to have a solid base to work from.
Yeah, and even on a larger scale, Roddenberry, he designed it where like the crew worked together, and the crew was the ship was better for the strength of its crew. And then you project it outward, it was the future of humanity was better because humanity came together. And then the Federation was stronger because the multiple species came together. It was always about the strength of togetherness.
Yeah.
Not separation.
Right.
So and I think you get that lost sometimes because somebody who doesn't care about the product, maybe grew up never even watching it, they think they understand it because they're like, oh, it's all about the ships. And it's not. But then you get something like the Orville where the person making it was a fan of Star Trek. And he wasn't doing it as a parody or even as a reimagining, but rather as an homage, because he did Orville to show his love of Star Trek. And I think that's why it came out so good, is because it was based on his love of Star Trek as a fan, a lifelong fan. So that's what you have to have if you're going to reboot anything, do it. And the other thing is give it time to breathe. Like Firefly has had that time. If they came out with a reimagined one, time-wise, it's far enough behind. You'll still have certain pockets. It's like, no, it has to be Nathan Fillion. You can totally reboot it at this point.
I think at this point, because of age and time away and stuff like that. Plus, he's got a hit show with the Rookie. I would say if he was in it, in the way I always imagined them redoing Firefly was too. Originally, I said they should just do animated, but they said this like 15 years ago when they could get all the cast together. Still, Ron Glass is gone, so we don't have Shepard Book anymore. So it's kind of tough. We don't have the entire cast to be able to come in and do everything. And they could have filled in the gaps between Serenity and that and done that. But they did that with the comic series. So that story's out there. I think what it needs to be is this also needs to be like a ship that someone comes across and they find the Firefly. The crew's long gone, but they find like a video from Nathan Fillion's character as an older Mal 20-something years later. That kind of gives you an update on what happened to everybody in some ways after the movie Serenity. As a quick recap, and then you get basically a new crew on there. If they were going to do that, that's the only way to do it. And then they can get into the Alliance, if they wanted more. But even that, it's so far past, you'd have to almost start it off fresh as if it was brand new and the other one didn't exist in a lot of ways. So I hope they don't. I mean, I'd love to see more of Firefly. At the same time, I hope they don't ever do anything again.
If they do redo it, I think this is a rare case. Usually I always wish everything was done as a streaming series now, so you get deeper into the lore and everything like that. I think Firefly, the level of depth that universe has isn't as deep. And I think it would work fine as a movie trilogy and not have to be like, 3 seasons of 8 episodes per, per season. I think you could make a really fun, lighthearted trilogy that is filled with action, the lightheartedness, but develop this cool world at the same time. I think it would work as a trilogy.
Yeah, a movie trilogy would work, and one of the streaming services could pick that up. But definitely they'd have to do a really good, basically pilot movie before they do the other 2 movies to reintroduce everything. And I think the hardest part is how they would truly reintroduce it and people are actually going to care. Because again, it goes back to people like the original characters, and you can't just recreate those characters with new actors in a lot of ways. So
right, yep. Another thing we never covered, I don't know, it might have been 2 weeks ago. Lonnie Anderson passed away.
Yeah.
So should mention that. And one of the cool stories that I came across recently was this is using AI, is my understanding. They've actually created a full WKRP radio channel.
Okay, I've read about this. It
Okay.
wasn't AI. It was a guy literally went
Oh,
and extracted all the stuff from the show and then inserted all the
oh, is
actual
that it?
music in. So it's like a 3.5 hour show. And he did one for
Oh, that's
Johnny
cool.
Fever and one for the Night Guy,
Venus.
Venus Flytrap. Yeah.
Yeah, Venus. Yep. Oh, that's cool. That's even cooler. It's from the actual broadcast.
Yeah.
So the one I read, it mentioned AI, so I didn't know how they were doing it.
No,
But
he
actually, we're
actually,
not far away from AI being able to do that.
yeah, it's not a recreation using AI to recreate everything. It literally took all the intros from the show. So it's
That's
just
cool.
his radio broadcast on the show. And then, when he introduced, if he was sort of like, like Pink Floyd or whatever, like, yeah, there's Pink Floyd, blah, blah, and it goes right into the song. And it's a seamless transition. The guy worked on it, sounds like, for quite a long time to get it to sound perfect and flow like a real
That's
radio
cool.
program. And you can go and download it and listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet, but I was
That's
like, it
cool.
sounds really cool because, and I like that he did both Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap. That was the two main DJs going on there.
Right.
So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Lonnie Anderson, that kind of surprised me when I heard that. She was born in 1945, so she lived to a good age. But if you didn't grow up in the 70s, you might not, and early 80s, you might not realize what an icon she was at the time. But she was like, what was it, Smokey and the Bandit? She was in or something
No,
like that. And
she was in Stroker Ace with Burt
okay,
Reynolds. She was not in the Smoking the Bandit movies. That was Sally Field.
no,
Sally Field was
gotcha.
the love interest in that. Plus, Sally Field around that time, because of that movie, she dated Burt Reynolds. Then when they broke up is when he kind of hooked up with Lonnie. They got married. They had a kid together. So,
Okay,
and that, but
yeah,
yeah. So it was something. You had a lot of different female icons from the 70s, really, and into these that still kind of lasted. People knew who they were over the years, stuff like that. You had and we've lost a couple in this year alone that were two basically say blonde legends from the 70s. We lost both, Lonnie Anderson from WKRP in Cincinnati, and we lost Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH.
oh, that's right. That's right.
And they were about 10
Yep.
years apart in age, and 10 years apart when they became hot and that stuff in terms of their popularity. And that it's so it's like, wow, to lose both of them in the same year was kind of
Right.
interesting. And I know that they were still and I'm blanking on the actress's name that played Houlihan from MASH, but she was still scheduled to be at several Comic-Cons with Jamie Farr and one of the guys that was kind of a character actor. He's always the cook, but he did a bunch of roles throughout the years too. He's been doing a lot of appearances with them as well. So she was still, when she passed, she was still kind of going. But I know Lonnie Anderson, we hadn't really seen much of her in a long time. It's not like she was battling. She was battling some. She got sick. I think it's cancer and stuff like that. But yeah, I went back. I started rewatching WKRP a few months ago before she died, and I got through I think the second or third season, and she was such a really instrumental part of it. She was, if you didn't really pay attention, you think, oh, this is just the dumb blonde using her looks to get what she wants. Really, she was probably the smartest person in the room in that whole studio.
Yeah, the joke. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The running joke was it was really the boss was the bumbling idiot.
Yep.
And she was the smart one, but it was always presented where the presumption was it was her, but it wasn't. It was him, and it would always twist around and be what was his name? Mr. Carlson? No.
Yeah, Carlson, yeah.
Carlson, was it?
Yeah, it was Carlson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Gordon Jump played Arthur Carlson, and he was a character actor for over many years on a lot of different stuff. Yeah. And then Howard Hessman, who was at Motor City several years ago, and I actually went into the green room and sat down and had a little snack, and he actually was sat down next to me, and I actually talked to him just for a minute. Seemed like a really nice guy. And that's
that's cool. He's someone I wish I would have met. I always loved him in pretty much everything he did. I mean, even what was that show where he was the teacher?
Oh, Head of the Class.
Night Class or Head of the Class. That was
yeah. That was he was on that for a few years, and then he was replaced, I think, the last season or two with the Scottish guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that one launched like Robin Givens. She was on that show. Dan Schneider was an actor on that who went on to do all the shows on Nickelodeon, who now is hated by everybody because supposedly he was a creep. And
Dan Schneider, which one was he?
he played Dennis. He was the big computer nerd guy in the corner. So
let's see here. Oh, him. Yep.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking. Oh yeah, there was a scandal with him with Nickelodeon, right?
Yeah, it's still kind of being talked about because like Jeanette McCurdy had something in her book about it.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk about, if you go back and watch like the iCarly stuff, he's like throwing them in really skimpy outfits for no apparent reason, and said different stuff that we never saw on the air, but behind the scenes stuff like that. But yeah, Howard Hesseman, he was replaced by Billy Connolly, who's a good actor and comedian in his own right. But he was the teacher in, like, I think the last year of the series. So and that, but yeah, that was I remember him from that. And then he's one of those, actually, you remember for like two things, but he was in other stuff. Like he was in one of the police academies. He had a role in the movie Dr. Detroit. He was in My Chauffeur, Flight of but there's always a lot of more character actors. In terms of leading man stuff, I think it was Head of the Class and WKRP were the two biggest ones that he is remembered for, because he's more recognized in those roles. But he definitely was a character actor for many, many years.
Yeah.
So,
very cool.
So Lonnie Anderson, she passed. That was, and then we had a couple here. I mean, we lost Ozzy. And then Lonnie Anderson around that time, Hulk Hogan, a bunch, and right in that same little pocket too.
Yeah.
So,
and
the Ozzy
always come in waves, they say.
Yeah, the Ozzy one was a little surprising because we knew he wasn't doing well, but he didn't look bad for the clips I saw from the big concert, and he was gone less than 2 weeks later, and that. So I guess it was a heart attack, they were saying. Same thing with Hulk Hogan; he died of a heart attack as well. But it sounds like
now
they're a botched. Yeah, it sounds like it's a botched procedure.
Now it's starting to look like there may be a malpractice lawsuit against the doctor. So that might come out. I mean, Hogan, all surgeries have risks, even when there's no malpractice. Yeah. And he had something like 20 plus surgeries over the years between his hips and his neck and his back and different parts. So, I mean, at some point, and with his age, each surgery gets harder to recover from.
Oh, yeah. So, and that was the thing. It was a lot of different stuff with him and that. Of course, I mean, 71 in wrestler years is like living to 95 for us. Because a lot of those guys don't make it. Because the amount of drugs, steroids, everything else, the toll on the body. That's the thing. When John and I did we were doing the little Carl series, our first year at Comic-Cons, one of the things John wanted to do is, I want to do the wrestling one, because he went to wrestling school and he realized that it's not entirely fake. It hurts.
Oh yeah.
It's a real skill. It's not just, like, you learn certain things, but it's still going to hurt. So
like the way a lot of wrestlers will say is it's scripted. It's not fake.
Yeah. And that's what it is.
By that,
it's still athletic.
Yeah. People will mock you, but it's like, why do you watch that? And I don't really watch it anymore, but I used to love it growing up. But it's like, why would you watch that? It's fake. It's like, well, why would you watch Captain America? Those fights are fake. I mean, there's a hero, there's a villain.
Yeah.
These are choreographed, but they're doing live stunts in front of a show, telling a story in front of a live crowd, doing very dangerous stunts night after night after night. And it will take a toll on the body. It's very rare for a wrestler to live past 60.
Yeah.
A lot of them pass before 60. It's a very abusive sport to the body. Honestly, it's more dangerous than MMA or things like that, because these guys are doing it. Pro wrestlers, they're doing this act 300 nights a year.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of abuse. I have no idea how they keep their bodies in shape, everything between the injuries, the exhaustion of travel. I mean, look how exhausted we are just doing a weekend show. Imagine.
Well, as I tell people, from the time I get to the show until I'm done and I get home, I've put in anywhere from 40 to 80 hours. it adds
Right.
up fast. So,
And
but
now imagine doing 4 different locations a week.
yeah, and all the travel in between. Well, I'll
Yeah,
tell you
and we're
this.
not getting beat up in the process.
Yeah. So the last celebrity one we should probably mention real quick. That was another surprise. Was Malcolm Jamal Warner passed away from drowning in Costa Rica with his family,
Yeah,
and that was a shame
yeah,
because
that
he's
was
like my
sad.
age, and that was like I was like, man, and he
Yeah,
seemed to be a pretty solid guy, and he had a slight resurgence going on. He was doing a lot of different
yeah,
roles, different. It wasn't trying to have anything like breakout, so but he did a lot of stuff after Cosby,
mhm.
and things like that, and he was a good actor. It seemed like nobody had anything bad ever to say about him. He seemed like to be a pretty solid
Yeah,
dude, and just hate to hear that. And he had saved his daughter, I
yeah.
guess, but he got caught by a riptide. And
Well, a
yeah,
surfer saved his daughter. Tried to save him too, and he couldn't save. By the time they got him out, it was too late.
yeah,
It's a shame. I don't know if he just didn't see the signs or he ignored it, but I saw a video of the beach he was at. There are warnings all over the beach not to swim, and
yeah,
that it's known for dangerous riptides. And him and his daughter went swimming. Thank God they got her out.
yeah,
It's sad. I don't know if he just didn't see him or what, but
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
I don't
shame.
know.
Riptides are dangerous. If you don't grow up by an ocean and learn about riptides,
Yeah,
the water is such a powerful element, and if you get caught in one of those, it truly is life or death.
right.
You might not even realize you're in a life and death situation because it just slowly pulls you out, and you spend all your energy trying to fight it, and then you finally just give out because you have nothing left.
Right.
It's sad. So, but yeah, that was a shocker. That one too.
Yeah.
You know.
So you got something flashing there. You got something you want to share on that?
Oh, so one of the things I talked about before is my annoyance with my Paramount Plus subscription with Showtime. I couldn't watch Dexter Resurrection, so I ponied up the extra $5 per month to upgrade my subscription, and I am so glad I did. They're releasing the episodes weekly, so there's still 1 or 2 episodes left of the season, but this is peak Dexter. It is so good. Absolutely love it. The premise of this is there's Peter Dinklage is in it. He's this super wealthy. What are those people? They're always giving money to charities, and there's the
Philanthropist.
I forget what the word is. Yes, he's a super wealthy billionaire philanthropist, but one of his side hobbies is serial killers, and so he has this annual dinner where he invites all these serial killers to his place, and they can openly talk with each other. And while he doesn't commit any violent acts himself, he lives vicariously through the stories of all these serial killers.
Okay.
And so he gives them a safe place to be themselves and talks amongst other serial killers. So it's this annual event. Well, Dexter stumbles upon his whole character is he kills serial killers. And so he ends up taking out a serial killer who was invited to this. And so he ends up with the invitation. And since no one knows what this serial killer looks like, he's able to go in this guy's place. So he infiltrates. Well, for Dexter, a whole gathering of serial killers is like a buffet table for him. So it all plays out throughout the season. They're all very dangerous adversaries. So it's a lot of fun. The casting is phenomenal. You got Uma Thurman in there, who is like, she's the bodyguard to this guy. So I imagine there's going to be an ultimate final fight, Kill Bill style, between Dexter and her.
All right.
But so you got that. But the show, is it Modern Family with Ted Bundy? I got serial killers on my mind.
Al Bundy. Yeah, Ed O'Neill. Yeah,
Al Bundy. Ed O'Neill. Modern Family. The 2 gay guys, the heavier set gay guy in that couple. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's a serial killer in this. He's hilarious as a serial killer. We've got Neil Patrick Harris is in it, and a bunch of an amazing cast.
Eric Stone Street's the actor you're talking about from Modern Family.
There you go. Yeah, he's hilarious as a serial killer.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff with it too. He's a good guy. And then I noticed, I pulled up the cast. It looks like Jimmy Smits is listed. So he must have. He was on before though, so they must
So-
have used some flashback on him.
Flashbacks, yes.
Yeah.
So there's flashbacks from previous seasons of certain
Yeah.
characters.
You got Neil Patrick Harris listed. Peter
Yep,
Dinklage.
he's good.
Steve Sharippa, a lot of people will know him from Sopranos, but he was also on Blue Bloods for its run as the cop that worked with the DA Reagan.
Yeah, here we go. Some others who are in it, Dexter is always having imaginary conversations with his deceased father, James Lamar, who is Harry Morgan. He's back. But they've also tied in the other series, New Blood, where we meet Dexter's son. He's in there. He does a great job as Harrison. We've also got, what's her name? Superhero, Jessica.
Oh, Kristen Ritter.
Jones. Yeah, she's in it. So a lot of really cool characters, and the interactions are great. The writing's good. I think where we're at with the Dexter series is they've reached a point where I think the original series, which I absolutely loved, they tried to ground it a lot more in reality.
Yeah.
But over the years, they've kind of created this fictitious serial killer universe. And I think it's found its perfect niche now, where there's a lot of reality, but it's enough of this Dexter verse, let's call it, where these scenarios can happen and come up, and it's a lot of fun. I feel like Dexter is what Batman would have been if Batman didn't have the millions to do everything, come up with all the equipment and training and everything else. I think he's the poor man's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, for Dexter, I watched the first few seasons of the original series, and I got bored with it because I felt like they got a little redundant in the middle, and I stopped watching. I did watch the one with when he was out in the woods in that town. Basically, he's supposed to have been dead. New Blood. Yeah, I watched that one. That was pretty good. I had a good. Since it was a one and done, I was easy enough to watch that. So I haven't watched the one. There's another one too, isn't there?
Original Sin.
Yeah, I haven't watched
Original Sin. Now that one I binged because I got caught up with the episodes, and I'm like, oh, I need more Dexter. So I decided to watch Original Sin. I'll say this. I was a little kind of like turned off by it at first. I wasn't going to watch it. I'm glad I did. It's kind of like the Battlestar Galactica remake. When you have different actors playing characters, it's kind of hard to do. But by the second episode, it's like, okay, this works. You just got to give yourself an episode or two to get used to these different actors playing the different roles, because they have a different actor playing Dexter.
Right, because it's set. It's like a prequel series, isn't it?
Right, it's his origin story. You learn his full origin story. You see when he first gets into Miami Metro Police. You see a young Deb, his sister Deb. The most jarring casting, though, most of the casting, especially the side characters, so spot on. Like the voices, the mannerisms, they are dead on. You feel like you're watching young versions of the characters.
Yeah.
But for some reason, studios, they always fail at this part. When you have a series like Dexter or Batman or whatever, the characters are the brand. You don't need a big name actor to play a role, to carry the role. The character is already established. Mm-hmm. And so Dexter's dad, Harry, they cast Christian Slater. And he does a good job, don't get me wrong, as Harry, but he's such a recognizable face. It pulls you out of the Dexter universe.
I would think that would have been.
You're watching Christian Slater.
I think that would have been a hard thing, not just because you're looking at Christian Slater, but he just played the dad just a few years ago in Mr. Robot.
Correct.
And yep. I would see him not just as, and I thought, of course, when you see Christian Slater, he's Christian Slater. Doesn't matter what it is. Right. I like him in a lot of different things because he fits a lot of those roles. But like Mr. Robot, he was good at Mr. Robot. But if I watched and I may watch it, who knows? If I decide to I'll check out the one season. But I probably would see Christian Slater playing the dad from Mr. Robot, now playing the dad from, and it's
like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Yeah. He's a dude playing a dude.
Yeah.
So by the end of the season, you get used to him as Harry, but even after 8 episodes, you still see Christian Slater.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why cast such a recognizable face for that role?
You know, Hollywood falls under the same trappings in almost everything they do anymore. It's always about who do we know we can put in there that everybody's going to recognize because they think it'll draw viewers. And it may
Right.
draw viewers initially, but it won't keep them if it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, the series itself, I read real quick while you're talking. You know, it was renewed for season 2, then abruptly canceled. But canceled because they decided to go forward with, okay, this really isn't working. This doing this prequel stuff. Let's go back to Michael C. Hall and just have
Right.
him in this new series. And that's where they got it. That's why they canceled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
And
it becomes too much of like we got to throw in these named people, and you don't need them.
yeah. Right. Yeah. So it just if you really want Christian Slater in the series, create a new character for him. Then
Yeah.
it's a prequel. You can create a new character for him that just you write an explanation why he's not around by the time the other series starts. You know, so I think it would have been better if they wrote a whole new character for him. If they wanted to have him in it, and there would have been plenty of spots to do. I mean, it's a police thing. You could have him killed off at the end of the series or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
Be very easy to explain. But the guy playing Dexter, young Dexter, and the woman who's playing young Deborah, the sister, they are both so spot on. By the first episode, they're playing a really young version of themselves, so it's a little not right. But by the second or third episodes, like the mannerisms are spot on. The tone of their voices, like they really got it down. And part of it's probably the actors just getting used to being the character too.
Yeah.
So spot on all the way around. But it's been a lot of fun. I wouldn't be surprised because what I was reading is the Dexter Resurrection is really doing well. And I started seeing some ads pop up for Dexter Original Sin. So I think what they're doing is I suspect they're getting a surge of interest because of Resurrection. So they're piggybacking off that new interest to see, are we going to get a new surge of viewings on Original Sin?
And that happens. Right. And it doesn't always translate to them doing new episodes, but if it keeps people interested in the characters, I mean, they're just trying to, this is now what, the 4th series of Dexter, not season, but series. And that's quite a lot for a character to have, you know, this many things going on. They keep bringing it back. You know, it's like we see that a lot of other beloved characters people want to see more of. We haven't really, we saw one movie, you know, El Camino, but we haven't seen like, you know, the return of Walter White, you know, things like that, you know, so it's not, you know, and I think it's interesting they've been able to go through and, because I know the final episode of Dexter, the original series, people were not happy with that ending. And they were very disappointed in everything. And now this is giving them more of what they really want, which is the heart of what Dexter was, that meat. So.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So we'll see where they go with this. I think, you know, if now that what I read is they've decided to move forward with Resurrection with some more seasons. So I don't want them to water down the stories by having 2 simultaneous series, but I definitely wouldn't mind seeing them because Dexter is a show that has a lot of flashbacks and stuff in it. I wouldn't mind seeing them incorporate the characters from Original Sin into the flashback sequences of the next season of Resurrection.
Yeah, they could create stories that, you know, don't do a lot because they'll get redundant, but you create stories that, okay, this happened back in, you know, 1991, 92, where the one is Original Sin set up at, and then go forward and have that tied into the episode that's going on.
Yeah, so I think that would work. You know, I don't know if those actors would want to sign for such, you know, a much more reduced role, but yeah, if you're a Dexter fan, I highly recommend pay for the upgrade for the Resurrection season, and then go back and watch the Original Sin series if you haven't watched that. Get through the first 1 to 2 episodes. You will get used to the new actors playing the characters, and it really flows well.
Yeah.
It's just an adjustment period.
Good. Well, I think these last 10 minutes we'll cover this buying versus renting. I brought this up with Scott.
Yeah.
It's been all over like social media, the news, that it's better to be renting versus buying. And the more and more I look into it, and I wanted Scott to come in from a real estate point of view. They've mentioned like for renting, even talking to your real estate agents, but I see them talking about major areas, kind of like, oh, it's cheaper to rent. And they mentioned stuff like New York City, San Francisco, Seattle. I'm going, yeah, those are major cities. And if you have to be inside those cities, I mean, most of those are going to be, you're renting an apartment, not renting a house per se. You know, they're trying to correlate it with renting a house versus buying the house and the upkeep and things like that. So I want to get a professional real estate opinion on renting versus buying, especially with now we're hearing about the Feds possibly lowering rates again.
Yeah. Yeah. So the concept of this, I went back to double check my years. I remember when this happened. So there's every year you have a group called the World Economic Forum that meets. And the concept was first introduced back in 2016. And this is the actual video, the opening of their discussion that was played at the World Economic Forum. And you'll notice the first prediction. Happy.
Hey, you can mute the music on that.
Yeah. So everything is going to be, that was the opening of the discussion. And then they went on to talk about this as a predictive thing by the year 2030. But then in 2022, they further doubled down and expanded it into, and this is on the World Economic here. They're selling it under this premise. Where is it? This. Oh, come on. There it is. I got too many windows opened up. So this is the actual World Economic Forum website from 2020 and their talks. And they're packaging this under what they're calling consumption equality. It's not fair if you own a house and I don't own a house. That's not fair. Mm-hmm. So we need to do away with ownership rights so that everybody is renting and nobody owns anything, because it's not fair to the person who doesn't own it. And so that's what they're putting this under the umbrella. They're using this equality argument, and then they're tying it together with the climate change to say we need to take away ownership of individual housing and put everyone into multifamily housing because it's greener to have everybody living in one giant complex than houses everywhere. So that's kind of where this whole premise initiated. 2016 was the initial introduction. 2020, they expanded it out, and now they still are talking about it further. And one last thing I want to throw in there is the World Economic Forum, the head of it is tied very closely to BlackRock, which is also buying up tons of properties and then pulling them off the market, leaving them off the market to create a shortage of housing, to force prices up, to make it less affordable for people to buy the houses. Mm-hmm. And then once they get you into a rental type situation, guess what? Oh, we happen to have all these houses you can rent from us. So I'm just saying there are tied motives between the World Economic Forum, BlackRock, and this concept of ownership.
Yep. So, no, and that's it. It's been so much push on this better off to rent. And the thing is that it's just like you said, and they say it right in the minute, you don't own it, but you'll be happy.
You don't own it.
And that's the thing. I know some people that say, I like renting because I don't have to worry about whatever. But at the same time, then when things aren't fixed when they want it to be, because the person that owns the property or whatever it doesn't need to be fixed today, I'll fix it tomorrow, and tomorrow takes weeks, then they complain. Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like, it's if you, the other problem is if you don't own it, and you're renting it, you're liable for things that you do to it, even if you didn't own it. A lot of people don't realize that. If you can't be going destroy it. I didn't own it, so I just destroyed it. It's like, I know people that lease cars, and they never get the oil change, and they turn it in 2-3 years later, and And definitely those cars
Right.
have problems down the road. That's one thing I have problem with used cars, especially if they're releases, is I want to see like kind of service stuff and things like that. But it's the same thing with renting. It's like, you know, you don't own it. And it's like, you know, if you don't own it, then who does? Why do they own it? Why can't you own it?
Right.
And
Well,
yeah, the thing is,
and
yeah, go ahead.
the example given in the talk, when I had watched the talk, I was trying to find the video, and it's interesting. The links
Mhm.
that I have to it no longer work. So I don't know if they've pulled the video down or what,
Probably.
but I remember I've watched it multiple times. And the example they gave in their demonstration for the World Economic Forum was a hammer. The person held up a hammer and they said, all of us own one of these, right? And everyone's like, yeah. And they're like, think about it. How often do you use this hammer? They're like, why own it? You know, you buy it for $20 and it sits there forever, or just pay $1 to rent it when you need it.
Hmm.
Like, it'll cost you less money and you don't have to worry about storing it and finding it and all this. So that's the premise. But then as they further the discussion and they're talking about this in detail, because they're not expecting outsiders to be watching their forum, they go on further about how they'll be the ones to own the hammer and they can set the rules as far as what you can use that hammer for. So
Yep.
now you want to rent the hammer. Well, why do you want it? What are you building? Oh, we don't like that. That's not green enough. Or that, oh, that's for a single family household. We're sorry. We can only rent it to you if you're building a multifamily household. Did you get your jab to make sure you're safe to use this hammer?
Yep.
Oh, you didn't. Okay, we're not going to rent to you. So they talked about how they can now set social policies through the rules of who can be allowed to rent. And that's where the real danger comes. The
Yep.
concept of renting itself is fine as long as you have option. We're in capitalism. Competition makes it best. So as
Yes.
long as rentals are competing with ownership, the rentals are going to have to keep competitive prices. But if you do away with all ownership, guess what? They can raise it wherever they want.
Right.
You will have no competition.
And that is part of the problems. And I hear we're not going to get too deep into other stuff, but I've been hearing more and more stuff of even with the jab that there are some people, doctors now saying, well, we see you never got that, so we refuse to treat you even today. And it's already been told they
Yeah.
can't do that. And,
Yeah.
you know, the thing is, this is that's why we're not getting into discussion, but regardless of what it is, having those controls over people, you know, people say, well, we should have that. It's always this is because it's good for everybody. They don't realize all the freedoms they're giving up with that. And that goes into this owning versus renting. And if you
Yep.
can own a home, you can have your own property. That's where the real power comes from. Even go back and
Right.
read, like, you know, the Federalist Papers. They talked about land ownership, property ownership, and things like that, and being part of the rights associated with being an American and living in the United
Right.
States of America.
Exactly.
And if
And
they take all that
it's
away, then we're
just
no longer in the United States of
right.
America.
And it's just as important for you to have the right to rent something if you want. It would be bad to say, sorry, no rentals allowed, you must buy. For some people, renting might be a good option.
Yeah.
For some people, ownership might be a good option, but it should be up to you what's right for
Correct.
you.
Yeah. And if there are a
And
lot of options like that, and you look at a lot of the stuff I was looking up with renting stuff is all been centered around major cities that have dense populations. And
right.
they use those as prime examples. I'm like, no, that's, you guys are always forgetting about everybody else. You're
Yeah.
looking at 10% of the space, not the other 90%. And,
Well,
you know, and if we all had to
think
rent,
about when you fly.
yeah,
When you fly and look out the window, they always try to sell this overpopulation myth. When you fly and you look out the window, it's almost nothing the whole
yeah,
flight. You look out, nothing, nothing, nothing. Like, and then you see a little patch, then nothing, nothing, nothing. We have plenty of space.
yeah. And we're
There's
not
space.
filling it up anytime soon and things like that.
Right.
But for
But
those places,
I
that
want
want
to
to,
give a
yeah, go ahead.
I want to give a quick real world example of renting versus ownership right now, just for those who want to consider it. Because what they understand is a lot of times people don't factor in the equity you earn. So this is a real life example. Someone I know, they bought a house 5 years ago for about 300,000. Their mortgage payments are about 1,500 a month. That's for the principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Over the course of the 5 years, when you add up all those payments they've made over the course of 5 years, they've paid 90,000 to own this house. Okay. During that same 5 years, though, their house has gone up 100,000 in value. So if they sold today, they would actually net a 10 grand profit, meaning they basically live for free.
Yeah.
For 5 years, plus walked away with 10 grand in their pocket on top of it. They got paid 10 grand to live there for 5 years. Whereas if they rented those 5 years, that same property wouldn't have been 1,500. They'd be paying 2,500 a month for that property. Times that by 12 times 5, they would have paid 150,000 to live there renting it for the same period of time.
Yeah.
So their cost of ownership is way less, and they're like, well, but you don't have to pay for a roof. You don't have, even if you pay for a roof right now, a house like that, you're probably looking at 25, maybe 30 grand. Okay, throw 30 grand on there. It's still less than the cost of renting all that time. Plus, your value would have gone up even more for selling with a brand new roof. So
and a lot of that stuff too is you're not buying a new roof every 5 years. They usually are lasting 25 years or more. So
right.
it's exactly. And nowadays you see some talking about 50-year plus roofs or lifetime guarantee roofs. So if you had to get one, you're going to be covered for a very long time.
Yeah.
So
and then the other part is when you own it, let's say your financial situation changes, you can choose just to live there. As long as you can afford the taxes and your mortgage payment, the increase in values, you don't have to pay more in. You're locked in based on what you have. Whereas when you rent, those values skyrocket. Guess what happens? Those landlords decide it's time to cash out.
We're seeing that now.
Sell the property out.
Yeah.
And now you have to move.
Yeah, where I live at now is we have lot rent, and we've got a lease. Yep. And once the lease is up, we know we're going to go up in 2 years. People are already seeing it going up, and because new owners came in, bought it, and said, well, we've already priced out other ones in the area. So comparing to the area, people are paying hundreds of dollars more than you. So we're going to be upping that lot rent. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it. I can't get away from that. We own the physical building, just not the land underneath it. So, and that's
exactly.
So I am, in a renting situation now because the building I live in is paid for. It's still cheaper for me to pay the lot rent than go get an apartment.
Right.
Or even a house. If I could get a house, I would, just because then I would own the ground too. And I like.
But the scary part is because you don't own the land,
they could evict us.
Over time, that value of that land's going up. And at some point, not saying they will do this, but they have the option of saying, we're going to sell this land to a developer. And if they do that, everyone there is once the land is sold, they only have to give you like a 30-day notice.
Yeah. I don't see that happening in where I live at. And I've never really seen that happening. And part of it is they're actually looking to move in a couple more places. They're filling in the holes that have been in this place for the last 20 years since the downturn of 2006 and 2007. They look, a place like this is now, they could try, basically they would sell it like the one guy sold it, had it forever, it built it for whatever chunk of change he got his millions, walked away. The company's got it. They're not going to want to resell it for even higher. So someone could develop it. One, you have to clear it out. You have to get rid of the stuff that's there. That takes time. Lawsuits would pop up immediately because of fair housing rules. But the thing is, when you've got like the amount of places like here, and they're all paying their monthly lot rent, and you didn't have to physically build it, to them, that's more, they're making more profit after they recoup back their initial investment.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is if the lot value keeps going up and the lot rent keeps going up, and they hit a price point where people are no longer willing to pay the increases, now the value of the land starts getting a big enough discrepancy.
But that becomes a different situation where if that happened and people started leaving because they can't afford to stay.
Right.
We had another manufactured home park near us that was kind of cleared out, but someone came in and they've started putting new homes in it because they've realized that selling it to someone to develop for physical homes, they might get some money. And around here, the land here is very expensive for development, but they're realizing that in the long term, they want that. They want that flow of income coming each year, and then in the long run, they're still going to do better. So, and they're actually selling the physical homes on top of collecting the lot rent too. So that's a dual thing going on there. So I don't.
I don't think it will happen.
I don't see any situation anywhere where that would happen. The way it would happen is if this place end up being a ghost town. Nobody was here at all.
Right.
Then I can see someone coming in, wiping it out, building something brand new. But I don't see that as being
right.
where
But
the value of this land here would ever go away. Now, other properties that may be massive that are not being utilized like this, I've seen that happen already where they've cleared that out and put something else in.
Yeah. The statistical probability is super low. I'm just saying it's whenever you don't own it, the possibility is there. Whether it's in your situation or a private home you're renting, now the chance of that being sold out from under you is much greater because it's a single house. That landlord could get a lot more money by selling it off and being done with it.
When you're renting a single house or a condo or something like that I see happen all the time where they say, hey, we sold it and because of that it can void all stuff going on. They have legal ways of going around and say it's you have 30 days to get out.
Well, they have to honor the existing lease, but
right.
a lot of times the landlords who will sell it out, you are now on a month to month.
Right. And so
I've
seen that happen.
If you're on a month to month, they only have to give you 30 days.
Yeah, no, yeah. In a facility like where I live at, place I live at, no.
Yeah.
But in the individual, and I've seen that individual homes, I've seen people say, out of nowhere, we were on month to month and I got it sold. I mean, we've even seen this renting an Airbnb. We had an Airbnb rental set up for San Diego, and we got a message in March saying, I'm really sorry, we're canceling your Airbnb because we're selling the house. You know, that was not an agreement they had to continue to have. I mean, that's a little different, but same thing. We were going to rent it for over a week. So, and then, the things like that. So yeah, I've seen where people that have homes, stuff like that, and they decide, hey, we're not going to rent it anymore. We're selling it. And you have to get out. The problem with that too is those that do it wrong. You hear that on the news where, they left and they took everything with them, even things they shouldn't have. And there's no copper in here anymore, especially in Detroit.
That does happen.
I think the whole premise I wanted to talk to you about this today was, a lot of people are looking at what the news is saying, and you can't trust the news.
Yeah. I
don't care who it is. Anywhere from CNN, Fox News, your local stuff, all the way through social. You got to be careful on what you hear on any of them. I don't care who they are, because it's not. You got to see what their ultimate agenda is, and seeing like a bunch of stuff pop up on like Today's Show and local news. And also talking about renting versus, and they're trying to do the spin of, when you're renting, they try to act like it's cheaper than buying. And you have this extra money to invest. And everybody I know that's renting, whether you're renting a house or you're renting apartments or something like that, you're spending as much as it would be to own a place sometimes or more, even though you say, well, I don't have to fix it up because they can get away with that now. And you now have that extra income to invest. I mean, a couple of guys I know that work at the store I shop at all the time. When I got talking to him, he goes, yeah, my rent went up like $300 when my lease was up out of nowhere this past year. And the reason is because they could. And that's tough. And that impact. So he doesn't have that extra $3,600 a year to invest like these news people are saying. So like I said, don't fall for it. Really do your research, and definitely, it's worth talking to realtors, seeing what you qualify for. Try not to buy more than you can afford. You don't need to buy if you got qualified for a $500,000 home, but you don't need it. Don't buy a $500,000 home.
Correct.
But definitely talk to people.
Buy what you can afford.
Yeah, and live within your means, and talk to people like Scott, or find a good reputable real estate guy that's going to actually give you real numbers and work with you, and not just say, "Well, tell me what you want, and I'll help you get it."
And if you look at the true wealth of our country, the people who really made it, they almost always have a foundation in real estate for how they got there. Trump.
Oh yeah.
He was real estate. So many people are real estate based. But to piggyback on the last point I want to make is you were saying about, the media is telling you this and stuff. Here's the ownership chart, just a quick little graphic of who BlackRock owns. Yeah. And you'll see in there, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Microsoft. They own huge stakes in Amazon, all these different things. And like I said, also the World Economic Forum. They have a vested interest in telling you don't own. And that's who is shaping the news. And this is why, people will take sides. Like, I watch MSNBC, I watch Fox News. They're owned by the same people.
Yeah.
This is all manipulation. It's to create fear, because fear creates viewership, and viewership creates ad dollars. That's what this is about. So anytime you hear a story, no matter who your source is, they're probably owned by BlackRock.
Yeah.
And the house that they want you to go rent is probably owned by BlackRock.
Yeah. You're
So
talking
keep
about
that in mind.
the property stuff. And the last couple thing I'll get, I was talking with, I was getting my haircut yesterday. I was talking with a gal that cuts my hair, and she mentioned about her son being in the Marines down in Texas, and she heard about HEB, which is a grocery store only in Texas. And she watched a documentary with him about that. I'm going to have to find this documentary on them. It was a podcast documentary. Because I like the way they sound. This company, I guess, has their own FEMA response type team. So anything happens in Texas,
wow.
they send like the shower trucks, they send water, they send food. They get there before FEMA does a lot of times. But the thing is, she was talking about grocery stores, typically their profit margins are very low, just a few percentage points typically is what it is. And they did the same thing that McDonald's did, that Walmart did. It's not about what they're selling up top. It's the fact that they were buying land. So they realized if HEB went into a place, other business popped up around them. So when they started wanting new stores and areas, they bought all the land ahead of time, and they were the ones building the structures that all these shops come in. So they're not really the company itself is probably, it's just like McDonald's. McDonald's is not a restaurant company. McDonald's is a real estate company, and the same thing with them, except they own the grocery store too. So they're not franchising it. And being only in Texas, and they are one of the top five. She said they're top five, one of the top five companies in this country right now, and people don't realize it because they're only in Texas. So I was like, I got to research that a little more. So
I just had a whole thing about this exact thing that you're saying. A lot of people are complaining about the Cracker Barrel, redesign and rebranding, and what I had posted is what people don't understand, because they then posted pictures of what McDonald's look like now versus before, Burger King, Taco Bell's, the Pizza Huts. The uniqueness is gone.
Yeah.
Well, the uniqueness is gone because they're not restaurants. They are real estate companies. And if that restaurant, the land and the building is owned by the parent company, and then they lease it to the franchise owner. So if that franchise closes down the road and they need to resell it or lease it to someone else, they want that building to be as generic as possible for any need. Right now, if you drive by a company that bought a building that was previously a Pizza Hut, you still know it's a Pizza Hut because of the iconic roof line.
Well, and what's changed a lot is you see that with some of the old Taco Bells that are now other things. But then you get some like we have on State Street in Ann Arbor. It was a McDonald's. If you went by right now, you would never know it's McDonald's because it was redesigned and built after they started changing everything. So all it is a rectangle square brick building.
Right.
So it's
so their resale value is higher.
Yep.
If they have to lease or sell to somebody different, because that company doesn't have to do a massive remodel.
Right.
Because now it's all generic. And that's why these companies, the characters of these companies are losing. But it's because of the misunderstanding by the public. McDonald's is a real estate company, not a fast food company.
Yeah. Well, the last thing before we sign off here is on the Cracker Barrel thing is they announced they're going back to the old logo. Everything with that was done with that made me feel like they knew what they were talking about. We're going to invest $700 million. They said they invested $100 million already. They may have invested $100 million, but they got so much press out of it. They got over $1 billion in Super Bowl ads out of this thing. And they knew exactly what they were doing. I even saw a local article out of Westland. Was talking about the Belleville location here. And they said, they talked to the manager of Belleville, said, we're not changing a thing. People like what they have here. We're not getting rid of the decor. We're not changing the sign. We have zero plans to do that at this location. And I think that the ones they changed were ones that, they probably could because they're in the middle of wherever and nobody really cared if it was Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, I part of me, at first, I thought, what a stupid move. But then I understand the real estate side. So I'm like, okay, that's probably why they're doing it. Mm-hmm. But the more it happened then I started wondering, I wonder if this was like a reverse psychology thing where they did this to force people to remember how much they love them.
Yeah, I think it was.
And
I felt that way from the get-go. I'm going, why would they change something that's iconic that when you drive by just about any Cracker Barrel around breakfast or dinner, they're busy. There's very few you never see that aren't busy. They don't have them stacked on top of each other. They are usually 30 to 40 miles apart than where you're at. So I've got the one here in Belleville. I know there's one down in Monroe, or there was, and there's one like out in Jackson. Those are not close things. You can't say, well, I'll just go to this one. I'll just go.
Yeah.
They're like 45-minute drives to get there. So why would you drive all the
there's
way?
one near me too here.
Yeah.
What's funny is I'm a breakfast person. I love going out for breakfast. I never think of Cracker Barrel unless I'm on the road traveling. When I'm traveling, because they're always on an exit ramp.
Yeah.
They're always near an exit ramp for a highway.
Yeah.
And so when I'm traveling,
they're a good breakfast, but when you find some places like where I live at, there's a place in Canton I like called Biscuits and Gravy. You have another location called Biscuits and Gravy by you, which I've not been to, but I think it's done a similar style. You know, when we do the Motor City Comic Con, which hopefully will be back to next May, we go to Breakfast Club. So we find those kind of places. Cracker Barrels, I mean, they're not bad. Once in a great while, they were never my favorite, but I never disliked them either. It's just one of those things where I like other stuff, and that's why I go other places.
I like their country omelets. With the sausage gravy on top.
It's the gravy and everything else, and they bring you out a whole bowl of gravy and biscuits just to start your day, pretty much. So, but I felt from the get go, I was watching, thinking, why would you do this? And then I'm reading all this stuff, and they were using all these buzzwords that you're hearing people talk about. They hate now, or they either love or hate. So I was like, this sounds completely like they're just trying to, and it's, and it's like, why would you say, oh, we're not changing anything, but we're changing everything, but we're still not changing anything? It's so.
Well, I guess it's a good word balloon to put out there to see, like, okay, if we get no pushback, we'll do the redesign. If we get a pushback, we're going to get the benefit of everyone remembering us.
Yep. So now you got, we're going to go back to it. So it's going to have a twofold thing. There'll be people like, oh, well, we're going to go there now because they're not changing, or people are like, well, they were changing. I want to see if it is. And so the people will check those out. And then those that did change their signs. Now I've seen some pictures where they whitened up the walls and they threw it like generic street sign type, or, Coke signs, but got rid of all the old farm equipment versus in pictures
all
and
tchotchkes.
So, they were changing all that up. Now the brightening it up, it wasn't too bad. Sometimes you want a little bit brighter, but at the same time, if the general store is not that classic feel of a general store that you're used to at Cracker Barrel, it's not going to draw people in just to buy there.
One last thing I'll say about Cracker Barrel. Side note, there's a TikTok I saw. This guy, he goes around to Cracker Barrels and he sneaks pictures of himself. He'll bring pictures.
I've seen
and he'll
that.
hang them on the walls and stuff.
He's done them look like the old pictures, and if nobody's looking, like, I've seen that guy do that.
So
I wonder how many are still up.
I mean, once it's up there, as long as no one sees you putting it there, because he does that antiquing look, so it looks like an old picture. So probably no one notices. Good stuff.
So this is our last week-to-week episode. Periodically we'll pop on just to say hey. We'll probably stop doing the episode listing. We'll just call Odd Musings, whatever that date is, or we'll figure it out down the road, and we'll check in with you guys periodically. And it's been fun these last 8 years, kind of doing it every week. But it does get to be when you're not making any money, I got to figure out other things. And so as our schedules keep changing, it's a little harder sometimes to have to do it. And so, but thank you for everybody watching. Appreciate you. From the Echo Network days to the StreamYard days. And you'll still see us, especially, and follow us on all the socials. Watch for Bardstone stuff. We've got a lot of new stuff we're working on. So the comic stuff still come out. We'll get on and do podcasts to promote that and catch up. And when we got something we want to talk about, movie or TV series, we'll pop on and just say, hey, we haven't talked to each other in a while. We might as well do it in front of y'all.
That's right.
All right. Sounds good. So, hey, y'all take care. We'll see you guys down the road. Bye.
Bye.